If you're ready to find your path to success or take the success you're enjoying to the next level, stay tuned. Successful Living with Bill Napick is on right now.
Welcome to the show, Successful Living with Bill Napick, and today, Successful Living with Robin French. And yes, in case you're following along, this is another singles edition, being single in Houston. Robin, what do you think of that?
I'm glad to be back. Thank you for having me.
And let's tell people the name of your company, because you are all about matching people together in a tremendous way.
Yes.
Thus, you are an expert on relationships, being single, not just in the Houston area, but all around. But let's tell people first about your company.
Well, I'm Senior Vice President of Selective Search. We are an offline boutique luxury matchmaking firm.
I like that, offline. We don't even need a phone to get matched properly in your case, right?
That's right, exactly. But you do need a computer, because when we like to send you a full written presentation and a photo when we're ready to present your...
And if people go to the YouTube channel, they can see the show. It was 1 week or so ago, so they can go back to that if they're single out there, or they want to know about being single, get the idea of what's happening here in Houston. But when we think, and I think I'm single, of course, and when I think about being single in Houston, I think it's a good thing. If you're going to be single anywhere, this is the fourth largest city. So many great things to do, and potentially there are so many people out there to meet. And if we're looking for that right person, they're out there somewhere. Now, it may not be easy to find them, but we're going to hope that they're out there. It's a numbers thing, maybe, right?
But you touched on something, because that's the main thing, too, is you have to get out, because
That's
so
right.
many of us aren't getting out. You know, we are working longer hours, right? Add to that any other responsibilities that we have. If we have children, we have to rush home and do all of that. If we have aging parents, maybe we have other things. We volunteer or we're on boards. And so there's very little time to do that, to get out, or to have access to the quality that we're looking for. And so, and another thing that I tell people too, back in the day, our parents were matched through their community, you know? And that's how you met a mate. And anymore, we have no sense of community. Our community is the Starbucks, the Whole Foods, the gym. We have no community. And so if you don't, like I said on the last show, if you don't do the bar scene, which you shouldn't, you don't fish off the company pier, which you can't or shouldn't.
I'm not
What
a
are you gonna do?
fisherman anyway, but I do love the image. And as you mentioned it again, I do like the idea of how well that is put, fishing off the company pier, wherever that may be. So let's tell people, you have learned so much. Not only are you the matchmaker at Selective Search,
Yes.
however, you're doing it for such a long time.
Yeah.
Your insights into single life, and also in more detail, I guess, your insight into the people that are searching. You've been talking to those people for 16 years, male and female
Correct.
alike, all over the country. So what are some of the things that give people that are out there that are single, that are saying, man, I haven't met the right person, I'm getting discouraged, the holidays are coming up, I don't have anybody? Give us some encouragement from, say, if a female is out there listening to this, what are some of the things they should do? And give them some encouragement, if you would.
Sure. Well, let's start first by saying your best chance at success would be hiring Selective Search.
That's one option. That is
That's
correct.
right. And you can reach us at info@selectivesearch.com. But things that we need to do are just simple things that, again, you have to push yourself
Leave
to
the
get
house.
out.
A lot of-
Leave
yes.
the house. Leave your computer. We're all stuck at home behind our computer, watching Netflix, doing all of that. There's so many things that we can be doing. I was talking to a gal this morning at the hairdresser, and she joined a volunteer group. And I said, that's a great idea, because I met someone many, many, many years ago volunteering for the Red Cross, because that's someone who cares about the community. So that's a great idea, right? So, and I know a lot of girls like Thelma and Louise, they go out to dinner a lot.
And reference, if someone just tuned in, those were the
Yeah.
two other guests on the show 2 shows ago. We called them Thelma and Louise, but that's not their real name, but
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah, they wanted to remain private.
Or they like that movie. I don't know.
I don't know.
Or both.
Anyhow, so that's the biggest challenge, is there are a lot of people who are they're complaining that they're not meeting people, but what are you doing to push yourself? You know, I was telling another gentleman last week, I said, when you go out to eat, because when you're single, you go out to eat a lot, right? Don't
And
just sit
usually
at a
go out
table
alone,
by
yeah.
yourself. Sit at the bar in the restaurant because that's how you're going to meet people. And I was actually telling Thelma and Louise, if you're meeting girlfriends out, get there early and walk around the restaurant as though you're looking for someone because you have just announced to every single man in that restaurant that you have arrived. So little tiny tweaks on the things that you're normally doing to just put yourself out there and,
This sounds like marketing, Robin. In
you
a
need to
way,
market
we are
yourself.
marketing
You
ourselves.
do need to market yourself.
Analogous to the job search, we are marketing ourselves. So, number one, I'll itemize, leave the house or get out there and do things, volunteer, be out there where you can meet people. That's a great thing. Then I would say we want to be in shape. We want to be our
You do.
best selves. In other words,
Keep the wheels on the bus.
keep the wheels on the bus. How about a little exercise for those that are not used to that?
That's right.
And if you are already on that program where you keep yourself fit, just keep on doing that.
If you're a woman, go get a blowout, go get your hair done. That always makes you feel good. And like I was saying earlier, for men, especially newly single, little tiny things that we as women pick up on, nose hairs, ear
Oh,
hairs, just that.
groom. Okay.
They don't. Sometimes you don't think about those things. How about some teeth whiteners? Do you have good date clothes? And so a lot of this stuff. We do a lot of coaching, of course, with Selective Search when someone hires us. But a lot of this stuff is common sense. But some people aren't doing it. They're just stumbling and fumbling around out there.
They don't think about it. How
No.
about this? What about mindset too? So we're marketing ourselves. We want to make sure that we are in places that we go out to meet people. We want to make sure that we look the best we can, grooming, nice clothes, put things together, have a nice casual outfit, fit wherever you're going if you're going to be in a more dressier atmosphere. But what about our mindset?
Communication.
What should we think about in terms of that?
Well, that's very important. I'm glad you brought that up because people who are negative, and I hear people all the time saying, "Oh, I'm
Because
kind
I'm
of
not
negative,
just a
and
pretty
I'm in a
face,
tough
Robin.
spot."
Right.
I don't know why you're still single, but anyhow, well, I can help you with that. But having a positive mindset because men love happy women. Tell me I'm wrong here.
And that's vice versa, though, right?
It's
Being
vice versa,
around happy
absolutely.
people. That's
It
a
is-
good point.
Man, it's like a drug. You just want to call them. You want to be with them, and if you've got to fake it till you make it, do it. But it really just seeing someone with genuine joy of life, it's really a turn on.
Exactly. And that is worth repeating. Our demeanor is so important.
Oh, my
And
gosh.
just when you said that, I'm thinking about people right now that I know have that demeanor,
Yeah.
that are
Yeah.
upbeat, they're
Yeah.
happy. You want to be around them,
Yeah.
but they are not perhaps everywhere, because I can think back when I was in my 20s of a few people that I remember being in a position of hiring, being a manager for a clothing store, and we had a few people come in, and we had one that was just so happy and so nice. We're like, it's a slam dunk.
Yeah,
We want
exactly.
that person.
That's right.
In fact, I remember her name. Her name was Ray.
Really? Isn't
That
funny?
many years ago, and that's
Yeah.
a long time. But anyway,
Yeah.
our demeanor, we want to be people that are happy, that have a joy inside
That's
wherever
right.
we get that. And I
Mhm.
think that's important.
Yeah, and the main thing too is when you leave, when someone leaves you, say you and I are on a date, and you're like, oh, she's so happy, and I'm having such a good time. When you want to leave them wanting more.
Well, that's like show business. Now we're talking. Isn't that what they say about
Leave them wanting
as
more.
far as the theater?
Personally and professionally.
That's right.
Yeah, right.
Leave them wanting more. And by the way, not to get into politics, but the politicians should do that too.
They should.
In case they're listening, there's a free advice from Robin and
Yeah.
Bill, right?
That's right.
All right. So now back to non-politics. But in the meantime, so mindset, personal appearance, stay healthy. I'm going to tell you one of the things that I have done, I know that has helped me, is I walk and exercise every day.
And that's
In
important.
fact, I can't remember when I began that, but it goes back 30 years.
Watching your diet too.
Watching the diet. And the thing I note about that is I think it's helped me physically stay in shape. But number
Mhm.
two, on the very rare times during the course of a year that I don't do that exercise walk, I find that it's a mental thing as well. I miss
Mhm.
that maybe
true.
I have the flu or something, but
Gives
I'll
you
miss that time. That walking time is a time to plan your day, depending on what time you
Mhm.
do it, think about things. It's just valuable mental time as well as physical.
Yeah, that's your me time. It's
Exactly.
good for you.
And
Yeah.
for the dogs, too,
Yeah,
now
well,
that I've
that's
brought them
true.
into the mix. But
Oh, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Girls like a man with dogs too. Hmm.
Okay, well, I have 2 dogs,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
and they're
Okay.
great dogs.
I'll
But
hook you up.
and you have a few dogs, too? Let's tell people
I
about your
do.
puppies.
Well, I have Havanese. So I have 2 Havanese dogs and 1 foster. Just for a hot minute, I'll have him. I'll be his surrogate. But yeah, they're great. And that's actually when I moved to Houston, I didn't know a soul. And that was how I met all my friends in the neighborhood was out walking the
Walking the dogs.
dogs. And I have a very funny story. I was single at the time, walking the neighborhood, and a gentleman came over and started talking to me, and my dog did not like him. So that was a sign right there. But my dog's barking at him, and then I have, my little bag of in the other hand. And so I'm trying to talk to him, but I can't because the dog's driving me crazy. But lo and behold, that man asked me out. Think
Did you
about
accept
that.
the date?
A
Did you
barking
go?
dog, and I've got doo-doo in my other hand in the bag. And no, actually, I did not go out with him. But bravo for trying, buddy.
There you go.
Yep.
And there's another point.
If a man's going to ask you out in that situation, I mean, that's
Well, here's the thing, and I don't know how we would categorize this, but if you're a man, maybe a woman as well. However, if you don't ask,
you don't.
you
That's
don't get a
right.
date.
That's right.
And I think it was Ringo Starr, who has been happily married for many years, but I think it was his quote or paraphrasing. He said, even Miss America stays home Saturday night sometimes because
Mhm.
people are afraid to ask her out.
Right. That's right.
So you have to ask.
So you do have to ask because you don't know unless you do. I mean, that's professionally or
So
personally.
be bold. I think that'll be the
You
word
need to be
that
bold.
for those that are listening, and I think it would work for women as well. Have a little bit of boldness. What do you think about that part of it? What should
Well, yes
women
and
do?
no. Now, when it comes to women, what we have as women, we have to remember we can't be too aggressive because men are hunters, and you have to let them hunt. So be careful with that.
However, women can flirt.
Oh, yeah,
That's
you
another
have to.
topic.
We talked about that on the
That's
last
right. So
program too.
let's
A
embellish that
lot
a
of
little bit.
us, when we've been in a relationship for a very long time, we come out of that relationship, we forgot how to flirt, and that's necessary. Men love that because, again, as we spoke about at lunch the other day, men and women, we want to feel special and we want to feel appreciated, right? And that flirting, I mean, you know,
And that's nice to be, in either case, the recipient, even like you were saying, going
Uh-huh.
back to the time where
yeah,
the guy asked you out when you're walking the dog, even though you declined, I'm sure
right.
you felt complimented and
I
it was
did.
nice to receive that.
Exactly, absolutely. The only reason I passed on that was he was my neighbor, and I just, that's just a little
It's
too
close
to
to
home.
fishing off
Yeah.
the company
So let's
pier,
start
but
as friends. Let's.
I love that term.
Yeah.
That could
Let's
apply
just
not
start
just
as
to our
pals.
jobs,
Let's
but to our
start slow
neighborhood.
here. But my dog really didn't like him anyhow, so I thought that was a sign. So,
So we leave the house. We
yes,
stay in shape.
we do.
We ask.
We ask. We flirt.
We flirt. And we have the right mindset. It's
Mhm.
kind of that simple. So these are going to be the elements of the book that we may collaborate on later.
Yeah. Or how
That's-
about church? When you go to church,
That's right.
join a singles group at church because most of our large churches here in the city have a singles group.
And not only that, we are in the fourth largest city. We have some
Soon to be third.
Soon to be third. People are always saying that we have so many great churches. And as you say, there are singles groups in many of them because a long time ago, churches have realized that the demographic is not just the man and woman going to church, but when divorce became very popular and the city has grown, there are so many people in here. So churches have their single population is a big part of
Oh,
the
for
ministry
sure.
and for their congregation. So
Yeah.
check out your local church.
Hmm.
That's a good spot.
Yeah, and listen, there's nothing wrong with being single. Some people are very content being single, and that's fine. It's just that,
That may be. That's
you know,
right.
there was a time, different times in my life, and I'm sure you've been there in different times in your life where you're just content with the way it is. You're taking a little menopause, or or a mancation from dating, but there gets to be a point usually, and I can speak to this because I was single for a very long time. I was single in my late 30s, I was single in my 40s and early 50s. Um, but at some point, no matter the great job and you've got everything going on great in your life, at the end of the day, we have to come home alone. We're eating dinner alone. We're, watching TV alone. We're going to bed alone. We're waking up alone, having our coffee alone, watching the news alone. And it just gets old. And it's just so lovely when you have a companion to share all that with you.
The right
So
companion.
I have empathy for those going through that because, I was single as a matchmaker going through all of that. But I was so busy taking care of everybody else, I wasn't even taking care of myself.
Sounds like the name of a movie, Single as a Matchmaker. Okay, I'm getting all these creative ideas. But it goes back to what I said in the very beginning about Houston. It is a great place to be single
It
in
is.
both of those categories. One, if you are looking for the right person, it
For
is a
sure.
great place.
Yeah.
If you want to stay single and you're not interested right now or however long, you're still in a great city because there's so many things to do, places to go, food to eat, all those things. It's a great
Mhm.
place.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's always something going on. It arrives in my email inbox every day, all the things going on in Houston.
And we're
And
talking with Robin French with Selective Search, selectivesearch.com. She is a matchmaker. Let's tell people, Robin, we're thinking about Houston, and at the time of broadcast, people certainly hear the show here in Houston. They hear it after the fact all over even the world sometimes.
good.
Let's tell people the idea of what you see in other cities. Is it different than Houston? Because you have knowledge about singles
Sure. Well, our
in New
headquarters is
York and
Chicago, and that's where I lived
Chicago.
for 10
So
years,
let's
being
tell people,
single.
is it
It's
different
no
there?
different.
There
It's
you go.
no different. It's the same dating climate, and the singles were struggling with the same thing. Again, I think the biggest struggle is we are working longer hours, and we're just not getting out there. So you really do have to push yourself to volunteer or join a club or get out with your pals or do something, but just don't sit there and complain that you're not meeting anyone. And, I'm not a big advocate of people sitting at home and doing the swiping and doing the online thing because that is a very murky pond. I,
Murky is a good word for it.
ooh.
I've been in that
But
pond.
yes, and it's addicting though. That's the problem. Is it gets so addicting that you think, and then you get to the point where you think, oh, just one more. I know none of the other ones have worked out, but this one, I'm hopeful for this one. Well, that's why selective search exists. Well, that and busy boys and busy girls are the reason we're in business. But this is completely offline. This is completely confidential. No one sees your information except for us. Only our staff, only our matchmakers. And so that draws a better quality pool of candidates. Think about it. Who don't want to put their personal information out there for the world to see. They don't trust it, or they don't want their clients to see it, or their neighbors to see it, or it's just. And so,
Okay,
I'm
that's
sounding,
fun.
I'm
No,
sounding
no,
like a selective
but
search
that's okay.
commercial.
That's okay.
But
But
yeah,
as you're saying
But I'm a
that,
big
I've been
advocate.
on the online dating sites, and I forget which one it was. I think it was on the free trial, whatever it was. But I saw 4 ex-girlfriends right on there,
Right?
and I think it was 4. Well, I'm not going to
Right?
divulge how many ex-girlfriends I have. However, I saw 4 to 6 people that I knew.
Huh.
3 of them were not ex-girlfriends, but they were people in
People
the
you knew.
company I work for
Right.
that are single, and they were trying the video or the online dating to meet somebody. I'm like, how about that?
Mm-hmm.
So it's out there. So many ways to meet people, but leave the house, use a service like Selective Search, or just go out there, have the right mindset. That is so important. The other thing I just thought about, I
Yeah.
think it comes under the realm of the right mindset, and that is as we get older, being over 40, over 50, over 60, we get set in our ways. I don't know. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
Some people, some people get set in their ways, and thus
Guilty. You're
they have a
guilty. I'm
little.
guilty.
Me too.
We just talked
So
about
we
that.
we get into the point where we weigh out the first step is leave the house. Sometimes we're like, I don't want to, It's. But
Right.
I remember, I think of any time I met somebody significant in my life, or even if going back to jobs and careers, when I trace back how that began, it began by being somewhere where I met somebody, and some of the most valuable relationships. I'm thinking, man, if I hadn't gone to that
Right.
place, or I didn't do this, I
Your
would have
friends
never met
invite you
that,
to
and
a
it was-
party, and you're like, oh, no,
That's right,
I don't
yeah.
want to go. Are you kidding me? I don't like parties. Those are some of the best times I've ever had.
Exactly. And with the next 2 minutes or so before we close things out, Robin, what else do you
We're
think
almost
people?
done?
Time flies, doesn't it? Especially when we talk about
Oh.
single life. We're going to have some more single life editions here on this show.
Yeah, that'd
But
be fun.
what else should people know about in the single world here in Houston, or about your company, or anything else?
Well, I'd love to talk about Selective Search just for a hot minute before we sign off here. So, again, we're an offline boutique luxury matchmaking firm. So, our founder was a headhunter. And in her late 20s, when she came up with the idea that let's take executive recruiting and let's make a hybrid of that and personal matchmaking. And that's our process. We call it our Meet Your Future process. It's where we handpick, we phone screen, we meet with them, we interview the candidates for you. So essentially, all you have to do, you tell us your criteria, you tell us your look, and our job is, so you go back to work and you rock on with your busy world the way you know it, and you've got this team literally working on your behalf. You don't have to swipe anymore. You don't have to do the online thing anymore. You're handing it over to experts. That's the key too. You are not an expert. Nobody expects you to be. You're an expert in your industry.
Whatever you do,
But,
that's right.
exactly. But why not hand it over to the people who will get you to the finish line so much quicker than you doing this on your own?
Also, what I find interesting is you are doing this for about 16 years.
15 and a half years. Well, yeah, a little over 15
That's
and a half years.
amazing,
Yeah.
because that shows a solid company, the
Oh, for
matches
sure.
that you've made, and the fact that it's kept you interested enough to be around that long, because
Absolutely.
you can be doing so many other things.
Exactly. That's
This
a very good point.
must be fun and rewarding for you.
Oh, yeah. I tell everyone it feeds the caretaker in me. I mean, who's got a better job than running around playing Cupid every day?
Nobody but Robin French. Robin, how can people reach you?
Toll-free number is 866-592-1200. Or you can email us, info@selectivesearch.com. If you want to reach me directly, Robin, ROBIN, @selectivesearch.com.
Thank you, Robin French.
Thank you
And
for having me.
it's super awesome and fun as always. So if you're single out there, great city to be single, great city to find somebody.
Yes.
Hope these tips have helped a little bit today. And we're going to have another single edition
And we'll
coming
help
up
you some more.
on this show. So check it out, radiobill.net. Radiobill.net.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Bill.
Robin French.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.